Hey, was wondering a question about Taco Charlton. What you've learned about him maybe after a month or whatever of coaching him, and do you sort of have a feel for what his strengths and weaknesses are, whether he's just a pass rusher or maybe if you have a need, he can be an every down kind of guy?
Yeah, I mean, I'd like to think he's more than that. Hard to tell right now. I mean, we're going off of the history that he's had in the league and also what we've seen. Downside, haven't seen him in a game. The system is new, so there is a learning curve, and there have been some things that he's had to work through from a mental standpoint. I really like the way Frank's been working with Taco because they know each other a little bit, and I think Frank's taken on that role of trying to mentor or help Taco, and he realizes Taco's in a new team. Frank went through the same thing last year. So I like the way they're working together. It's going to take a little while, but we can figure out exactly where Taco fits in. But love his length, love a lot of things he does. He's been working real close with Brendan Daly. Brendan does a great job with those guys. So hopefully we can get him to a point where he helps us on all downs.
Let's go to Pete Sweeney. Go ahead, Pete.
Morning, Steve. I was curious about Ben Niemann and his progress and what has maybe made him a candidate to get some additional time this season.
Yeah, you know what, Pete? If you had to say one thing that makes him a candidate is from the chin to the hairline. A very intelligent football player. We all know his dad's a football coach and played at Iowa and all that. But I got a great deal of respect for Ben. He's a true pro. He knows everything we put in. He's a great communicator, has become a great communicator. I got great confidence in him and Hitch when we put them in front of the huddle and when they break the huddle and have to make adjustments. And I would tell you this, I think Ben moves around a lot better than people give him credit for. I mean, he's tall and all that, but I think he's a really good knee bender. That's why we put him out in pass coverage, and I'm looking forward to watching Ben play some football this fall.
Let's go to Sam McDowell. Go ahead, Sam.
Hey, Steve. How's it going?
Great, Sam.
Can you expand on how you're going to determine a 53-man roster without preseason games? I mean, obviously not getting into the details of exactly who you're keeping and cutting, but just how different the process is this year.
Yeah, there's a little bit of a challenge with it. I think the way Coach constructed the training camp was really good. We do things fast. I'm always trying to test them mentally, even in walkthroughs. I try to make them go fast. We got to find out who can think. When the bullets are flying, is somebody going to stick their head in the sand and go to sleep on us? We certainly don't want those guys. But identifying, listen, Brett Veach does a great job. Andy does. They got a good pulse beat on it. Sometimes as coaches, we get so wrapped up in the scheme and getting ready to play an opponent that we forget about the personnel. And we don't forget about it, but that kind of gets lost. And then we got to reprogram ourselves to look at who's what. But I'm hoping and feel confident that we'll pick the right guys. We're very fortunate in the fact that we have some guys returning from last year, so that gives us a little bit of a comfort level. But we'll see how it all shakes out.
Let's go to Herbie. Go ahead, Herbie.
Hey, Coach, you actually answered my question there. I was going to ask you,
with one shot, huh?
Yeah, there you go. I didn't have a two-part question there, but it's like you mentioned the advantage some of the guys coming back from the roster last year. But, what's your message to the guys who had the disadvantage of not having the benefits of OTAs and mandatory minicamp as they try to make this roster?
Yeah, the first thing I have said is follow the guys that were here. I mean, the guys that were around a year ago have gone through it. And I think the player-to-player relationship and conversations are as important as any in this league. And I think every player will tell you that. Let's face it, after a while, they don't really want to listen to me. They'd rather listen to one of their buddies. And I think our guys that have been around do a really good job of that, sharing the information. I don't think anybody's trying to hide anything. And we need everybody. We need a lot of guys to step up, play for us, play early that maybe weren't involved in this system a year ago. But having great communicators in Hitch, Tyron, Dan Sorensen, Ben we mentioned, I think helps anybody that's in the system now that was not in it last year.
Let's go to Nate Taylor. Go ahead, Nate.
Good morning, or actually good after early noon, Steve. With the defensive linemen and making the roster cuts, how much of a factor will be flexibility as to whether you can play inside or outside?
That's a great point. Great point. Well, look at the league, the way offenses are constructed now. We all know we're in more quote unquote sub than we are in base defense. So that becomes really important. I mean, a guy that can, I mean, typically you have the guys that play outside that can go inside on third down or a passing down. We got a few of those. Really, Chris is the only guy that we'd ever take from inside and move him out. We had to do it a little bit last year because of injury. So hopefully that doesn't happen. He's always pulling at me to go out there and play D end. I think he asks me every day. But listen, he can do a lot of things. I think in this age of football, I think being flexible throughout the 11 positions on defense is really important. I mean, the corner position is unique, but safeties that can be linebackers like Dan does for us, safeties that can go play the slot like Tyron does for us, ends that can go inside. I think anytime you can be flexible and versatile, it's going to help your overall defense.
Got time for a couple more guys. Let's go Matt, Derek, and then Todd Lebo. Go ahead, Matt.
Hey, Coach, you actually touched a little bit there on what I wanted to ask you about, which was about the safety position. And, how has it changed in, your time in the league as far as what you want from safeties? Because, once upon a time that was a turnover position.
Yeah.
But now it's, you seem to want some flexibility and guys who can do a lot of different things there.
Yeah, it's funny when you ask that question, my mind goes way back to earlier when I was in the league. And I think they said that more, that the safety position wasn't valued. But I can tell you this, we really valued Brian Dawkins. He was you're kind of talking about a spot that I think against offensive football now does become really important, because if you don't have a little bit of skill at that position, offensive coaches are way too smart. They find the mismatches and put you in tough situations. We're fortunate that we have some guys that maybe can play wideouts as safety, still support the run. When you have that, it makes you better. But has there been a change in that position? I'd probably say, yeah, based on, way back when you'd put 3 wideouts in, which was not as prevalent as it is now. Typically, you'd throw another corner in the game. With the speed of the way offenses are now, by that I mean the tempo of going in and out, you don't get a chance to do that. So if you don't have safeties that have a little versatility, you're really restricted in what you can call. So having a little flexibility with a guy that can play a slot is really, really important.
Let's go to Todd Lebo to close it out. Go ahead, Todd.
Hey, Coach, you kind of mentioned this a little bit with Sam and Herbie's questions about trying to pick the guys when you haven't had OTAs and exhibition games. Just how hard is it going to be for these defensive guys, first year in your defense and all that, to have the first snap they ever take actually be in a National Football League game?
Yeah, we're going to find out quickly here, aren't we? Yeah, it's baptism by fire, right? The old saying, and that's going to have to happen. We've talked about it. We're going to have to live with some growing pains, I think, at some positions. But what you hope is that the nucleus of the guys around them, will step up their game. We're all hoping. I step up my game. We all do step up, and that we can maybe camouflage those issues a little bit. And listen, if somebody does get exposed or something happens like that, get them on the ground, let's line up and play another down. But it happens. Everybody's going to deal with it around the league everywhere. We certainly got our spots, but I'm confident in the guys that have been around here that they can rally and help out these young guys.
Coach, we appreciate your time today. Thank you.
You got it. Thanks.